Hello, welcome to Dance List, Learning the Language of Autism. Belle here. I hope you've been enjoying the sensory series so far. I had a bit of a week off, school holidays and new support workers and lots to plan and do and be. So these, over the next few weeks, they may not be weekly, they may be fortnightly, but they may be weekly. So I'm just kind of giving you a bit of a heads up because I'm just kind of like going with the flow and just trying to be a bit more gentle with myself the next few weeks to, why stress. And thank you. I've had so many more new subscribers over the last month. It's been amazing and it's really exciting. I always love it when I see that there's new subscribers because it just means that, more people are not only looking at my channel and liking what I'm saying, and maybe it's resonating and helping and supporting, but it kind of, I hope, is like a follow-on link. It just gets people thinking if they weren't already thinking in some of the things we've already spoken about, some of the approaches that I speak of, if it hasn't already been in your mindset, like now it is, which means once you start, sometimes you just need one idea or one concept and then you just, you're off, and it just gets you on the path to your child's being, and you start to understand them better, and therefore your worries drift away and you can just sort of focus on your child and what works for your child in your house, in your environment for them, as opposed to thinking you've got to kind of try and fit them into this impossible shape or place, whether it be from education or social pressure or just your own, parental worrying, if you just had no experience and you just think that you should be doing it in a certain way and wondering why you feel frustrated, upset, sad, but you don't know where else to go. So I really hope that, as our community continues to grow and we all continue to speak to autistic adults and teenagers and anyone who's autistic who is willing and kind enough to share and support and help, particularly neurotypical parents who, need people that are autistic to kind of like help give us a autistic perspective. Obviously our children are all individuals, as all human beings are, but at least it will give you more of a, an autistic mind is giving you some advice, which has got to be closer to the mark than a non-autistic mind. That's what I've found anyway. So this week I'm going to be talking about the sense of smell and how this is probably one of the most difficult ones to realise if this is what your child or person that you care for has in their sensory, or one of the things that they have, especially when they're very young, because they are yet to develop language, and if they develop spoken language at all. But when they're really young, all children are non-verbal. So, and sometimes the behaviours or the outcomes of a oversensitive sense of smell or undersensitive will look like other things. So I will explain. So I've got some notes just here to my left, which I will keep looking at to keep me focused. So it's called the olfactory sense. Smell, that's the kind of like medical word, olfactory. And it could be underactive or overactive. And either can be a challenge. So I'm going to talk about the underactive first and how that can be acknowledged or recognised. Now, it's usually you'll start to recognise that your child or person that you're with, whether even if they're an adult and they don't yet know this is happening, doesn't seem to be affected by unpleasant smells. you know, like your normal, so your feces, your really strong detergents, or really bad body odor, you know, really, really full, like sometimes in the countryside when you get that real sense of smell of cow manure where it's just been sprayed on the crop, some of it's really like, whoa. You know, you may find that your child could be, you know, not bothered by poo. You may find there could be other sensory reasons why your autistic child may play with their own feces, but just because we're talking about smell today, so I'm just going to be talking about it in this context today. But there are other reasons why some autistic children do play with their own feces, which is discussed in other videos. But for the sake of smell, you know, sometimes it's because they can't smell it. So you might feel grossed out by the fact that they're like, it's all over them and they're like putting it right up to their face, and they might even want to lick it. And you're thinking, oh my God, it could be one of the reasons that it could be is because they have an underactive sense of smell. So of course, the dangers of that, you know, which are something to look out for, is that they may not know, or they wouldn't recognise if a food was off. So if there was meat or fish, you know, and it smelled bad, it's our natural, even when we're very young, is we'd gag and we just would know not to touch it or eat it. But if you have a lack of sense of smell, then obviously as children when we're young, we're very, you know, explorative and investigative, and we will kind of go, oh, we want to pick up, and straight away it normally goes to the mouth. That's how we explore the world when we're very young. All children do that anyway. So if that can be a little bit of a worry if you are unable to recognize when something is off. Like even if you're an autistic adult and you're living independently or pro-dependently and or part dependently, and you are you know, unable to smell when your meat in the fridge has gone off, or your, you know, your tuna's off, and then suddenly you get sick and you get stomach aches and stuff. The same with water. If you're like out and about and you're drinking toxic water from a pond, or, you know, and it's all gone really like, ugh, it's, you can't smell whether you know, if you smell off, if your body odour's a bit, ooh, you know, a bit, ooh, you might not be able to smell that. And just general body odours. So it could, you know, be a problem socially if you can't smell that you're smelling a bit off. Or on the other hand, if you like, you've put on loads of aftershave or perfume or something, and everyone else around you is like, oh my God, and you've got no idea because you can't smell it. And it may be that you put loads on so that you are trying to smell. So it's like you're sensory seeking, and it could be too much for everybody else, but to you, you're like, I can just about smell it. So there's loads of things to do with smell that can affect your daily life, from a tiny baby all the way up into full-blown adulthood. It's like an ongoing thing. Some people that have a lack of sense of smell can feel a little bit sad, because, you know, most of us will be like, that bread smells amazing, or I love the smell of that cooking, or, you know, we kind of like, we love smells flowers and the woodland and the beach, and we kind of, you know, most of us will go, oh God, smell that, and it gives us a great deal of pleasure. And it's also a real like memory booster. It's like we might smell something just out of the blue, and it will take you back to a memory that you had, that's a, you know, really happy memory. And if you're around people in society and you have a lack of sense of smell, and then you're just hearing people go collectively like, oh, smell those amazing cakes, or smell that amazing bread, or whatever, and you can't smell it, it can cause people to feel a bit, you know, like they're missing out. So there's not too much that you can do about that other than be aware of it, and be compassionate about that, and that could be a reason why. So, overactive sense of smell has a word, and it's called hyperosmia. 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 And it's a new word on me. I normally tend to stick to just the basic words in life, and so I'm learning all these new words, and I often get my tongue, So hyperosmia is an overactive sense of smell, or a very heightened sense of smell, which of course the physical medical conditions that it can cause is it can cause headaches, it can cause migraines, giddiness, like sickness, and or a feeling of nausea. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's an unpleasant smell. It could just be that the smell senses are so acute that even a beautiful scent of a flower, or a really beautiful scent of something cooking that's really pleasant, but because it's so intensified, the reaction is like it goes up the nostrils, hits all the sensory pathways, which are it's the sensory pathways, and it could cause your throat reflux, or you to go or just like an unpleasant smell for those that have got like their sense of smell is on point. And if you smell something that's unpleasant to you and it makes you gag, or even if you see something unpleasant and you think, oh, it could do that even though it's a pleasant smell. It could have the same reaction, and that can often confuse neurotypical people, or people that haven't got this condition, because they'll think automatically they don't like that smell. It could be that they do like it, but it's just really intense. It can also cause like runny eyes, so like things to look out for younger children that are unable to tell you that smell is causing them distress in some way. These are the physical things to look out for. And remember, I'm only talking about these things in the context of the sense of smell. There are other medical conditions and reasons why other things like runny nose, sneezing, coughing can be. But this is just the symptoms that you may find for overactive sense of smell. I just want to make that clear. So, runny eyes, runny nose, constant sneezing, coughing, a kind of feeling that your children want to like go inside their nostrils and itch and scratch and blow and snort, and it can cause all sorts of physical behaviours and behaviours going on for young children, particularly if they're unable to express that something is smelling really strong to them. It can also, if it's a strong enough smell, or it's a big enough, and it causes your children to vomit a lot, just be aware that they could get dehydrated, or they could get, be hungry a lot because they're constantly, vomiting. So just a little sideline really, to just be aware of that. There's another word that I found over the years, why I've been learning about all this sensory stuff, is called cacosmia. I don't know whether I'm pronouncing it correctly. I think I am. Cacosmia, or cacosmia. It's either cacosmia or cacosmia. And it's the problem or a blockage along the pathway of smell to the brain. So it's just another medical word, and I'm just throwing them out there just in case anybody's interested and you want to research it further. I will be putting links at the bottom of my descriptions, like I always do, of other websites you can look on and research further, and maybe some videos or some books or something. I always do that. So do always look in the description part, because there is always extra information. And with this cacosmia, when there's this problem or blockage along the pathway of smell, sometimes it can cause people to only smell like crap, poo, like unpleasant smells. it can only, it's odd, but, or they might they might say they can smell an unpleasant smell, and to everybody else they're like, there isn't a smell, there is no smell. But if you're sensitive to smell, then you're going to smell smells that no one else can smell. You know, you're going to be like a bear or like a dog, you know, that's got this super sense of smell that can smell, you know, salmon up, that's when the wind's blowing the right way. It's like the sense of smell. So if someone that's got sensory processing differences, or they're autistic, and they, you know, you're around them and they say, I can smell blah de blah, and you think there is no way in the world that they could smell that, that's not possible. It is. It is. Oversensitive senses are real, and they are really intense, and they are amazing. I mean, it's sometimes it can be like a skill, like if they can smell gas, or they can smell a dangerous smell, like a smell that's kind of like, you need to be able to smell that. Smoke, that's another thing that can be a problem. So it could be a positive thing, because you can go like, I can smell smoke, or I can smell burning when nobody else can smell it. Or it could be that if you're living independently, your sensory processing, or you're autistic, because this is really me talking about autistic people in the whole of my videos and everything. It's really from the perspective of being autistic. If you know, you can't smell smoke, so that is obviously, always make sure you've got smoke alarms in your house or flat, or wherever you're living, which should really happen these days. But just as a side note, because if you have a lack of sense of smell, you're going to need to know when there's smoke. Yeah, so I've spoken about the sense of smell and all the other senses in my other videos with regards to play and food so far. They are like separate videos, because otherwise one video would be so long. So I've tried to break them into categories. So the you know, sense of smell with regards to play, you might think, well, how's that going to affect? But you imagine, you know, if you're a young child and you're in a nursery situation, or you're at school, or even at home, and all the toys and all the play, food stuff, Play-Doh, paints, most toys are made of plastic, you know, all these things, everything can smell, everything, packaging, you know, can cause children to have all these reactions, because it could be the smell of something. So do check out my play and sense of smell, and play in the senses. I talk about all the senses through the aspect of play, and I talk about all the senses through the aspect of food and eating. But this series is just basically just talking about the senses as the sense. So overall, if you put all those together, like, there's a lot of information on these senses and what they can, you know, mean for some people who are autistic or have sensory processing differences. It's there's quite a lot of information out there. So I think I'm just looking down here and just seeing. Yeah. So I've put things here like perfume. So sometimes a child might, just give you a scenario. So say you've got a young child and they're at school or at home or anywhere really. It could be anywhere. They could be even out, and they just suddenly vomit or gag. Now, obviously, there could be other reasons why that's happening, but from a sense of smell perspective only, you know, it could be that someone has walked into the room or into their space with a really strong sense of perfume, or, you know, body smell, or something that has just literally hit their sensory system so severely that it has literally caused them to vomit or gag or run away, and they're unable to explain it. So that's why I say it's a difficult one to fathom, because obviously if they have this, and they're being sick all the time, you're going to think that there's something wrong with their stomach, or that they've got a tummy bug, or, you know, and there are obviously things that you do rule out first, and you absolutely do make sure that, but often this can get missed. This is a sensory need that can get missed. Some children who have the lack of sense of smell, like with all the other senses, will do sensory seeking. So they will try, well, even if they enjoy it, even if they love smells, they'll sensory seek. But if they don't, and they only have a slight sense of smell, they may try and smell smells and be one of those children that kind of like receives information through smell. So I've seen it many times and heard about it many times, where parents explain that their child smells things or smell people, like, you know, they just want to smell you before they talk to you, or it's just the way they receive information about you and who they are through the sense of smell. So there you are. That's smell. Smell, smell, smell. There is so much more information out there online. I will put some links for you, but please do, you know, keep researching, keep looking. You know, please do, if you haven't subscribed yet, just subscribe by clicking the little button and the little bell, and then you will always receive my videos, whether or not you want to watch them there and then or not, but at least you'll be kind of keeping up to date. And I will see you either next week or the week after, and we will continue with these series until we've finished all the senses. So have a lovely week, and thank you for watching. I really appreciate your subscribing. Please do share your experiences, your knowledge, your wisdom. Keep speaking to autistic people. You know, join autistic groups where you will receive honest information that can save you as a parent or a carer or a professional a lot of, you know, worry or questions. If you ask questions, I have found that the autistic communities are so happy to help and share their perspective. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.